Mexico with Kay. Es viernes. It's Friday. Hey. Y'all, I just looked at my last live and I have not been on here. It said 3 months, but I was like, has it really been 3 months? So I guess the last time that I came to say hey to y'all was when I was home back in the States for the summer, but actually decided to come back in July and spend a couple weeks back in my place in Mexico. So yeah, so it's been a while. So there are some definite updates that need to happen for sure. Hey, my beautiful love. Aaliyah's on here, my ex-student. She said, hey, Miss Crom. Hello, beautiful. I love you. I miss you. Hey, ooh, look, I'm over here about to knock over this little tripod. But yes. So I have many updates to give about life in Mexico. Like, first of all, I really do love Mexico. I really do. But I feel like sometimes when y'all get online and y'all be looking at like these expats on like the TikToks and the Instagrams and even the YouTubes, like they be wanting to show all like the, the highlights of living abroad. But I will say it definitely has some pros and cons. And we're going to get into like today's live talking about some of my personal experiences, right? And I don't invalidate anybody else's experiences. So this is just kind of my experience as of late. Aaliyah said, I'm on a day by myself at Red Lobster and saw you pop on live, had to tune in. So happy you tuned in. I literally decided it was like at 4. It was like almost, I think it was like 4:30 because I'm an hour behind Eastern. And I was like, let me go live today. I just got done skating. So I'm like, let me go live at, 5 or whatever. So it was kind of last minute. So I know it's going to be some folks on here listening to the live later on. So I'm going to just go ahead and get into what it has been like since I returned back September. I think I came back September 2nd or 3rd is when I got back. So, okay, let's rewind, okay? Let me give y'all my experience. So I got back to Mexico September 3rd. Y'all know I was back in these U.S. streets this summer. When I tell you this summer, there was a time to be had. I got to go see Beyonce this summer. I got to go to Houston this summer. I got to go to Orlando. I was in Chicago a couple times this summer. I got to go to West Virginia. My biggest thing this summer was I wanted to go to a different waterfall every week in Ohio. Now, I did not get to go every week. I'm kind of sad to say how many times I actually went, but I did get to see 3 waterfalls this summer. So no, that's a lie. I saw 3 waterfalls in Ohio. No, 4. I saw 4 waterfalls in Ohio. And then I did see a waterfall when I was in Chicago as well. And then I saw a waterfall when I was in, where was I? Kentucky, I believe. So I did get to see some, but it wasn't every week like I thought. You know how like you have like a theory in your mind, but in real life things don't really turn out the way that your theory did. Aaliyah said your hair looks good. Thank you. I just had my lock-iversary. I am officially 4 years locked as of October 1st. So super excited. Thank you. But yeah, so this summer, I had a time. I ate good. I saw good people. It was a beautiful time, right? I'm like, oh my gosh, it was so nostalgic. But once it was time to go, I'm like, all right, I'm ready to get back to Mexico as well. But for the people who like leave the country and don't come back, I don't know how they do it because I'm not about that life. I actually enjoy being back in the States as well. I think, again, it's pros and cons wherever you choose to live. But I definitely like to go home and see family and friends and like get some of the foods. Because one thing about Mexico does Mexican food amazing. Mexico does not do Italian good. It does not do Japanese good. It does not do, all the other cuisines that I enjoy being in the States. It just does not do a good job. So Therefore, I have to cook a lot of my things, but they don't have all the ingredients for like the different cuisines that I like to eat. So it's good. It is what it is. So y'all, I came back September 2nd or 3rd. When I get back, y'all, it literally, I was at the airport, and when you're coming into Mexico, they have like, you can get a tourist visa, which is just a stamp in your passport, and it lasts for 180 days. Now, I don't know if y'all remember, but originally when I came to Mexico, I was only planning on being in Mexico for about 6 to 9 months. Well, clearly I came here, I fell in love. I'm like, okay, this is definitely like home, like a home base for me now. So I'm just like, okay, when am I going to do the residency process? Because it's not cheap, to say the least. But I'm like, when am I going to do this residency process? So I'm just kind of procrastinating. I'm like, okay, I'll probably do it like next summer. When I came in, the lady at immigration was giving me such a hard time. She was like, how long are you here for? Where are you staying? And I didn't want to lie, you know what I mean? So I'm like, oh yeah, I'm here visiting, like knowing I'm all the way living here, but I'm like, yeah, I'm here visiting. And she's like, when are you leaving? I was like, I'm not sure yet. I have friends here. And she was like, no, I need your ticket for when you're leaving. Y'all, I was freaking out. But gratefully, one of my good friends from med school, she's getting married in November. And then it clicked in my mind. And mind you, at this point, I'm trying to act like I don't understand her Spanish. So I'm like talking in English, like, oh, I don't know. And then I heard her like she was about to get the folks on the walkie-talkie. I was like, I was like, oh, no, I think I understand. I think I misunderstood you. So I remember I had my flight to go back to the States because I'm going to Chicago in November. I was like, no, I'm leaving. I have my ticket. So I had to show her through my Southwest app, and she was like, oh, okay. So she gave me my stamp. But y'all, when I tell you, that had me so nervous, my nerves was bad because I'm like, oh my gosh, technically speaking, they usually give you the 180 days, but they don't have to. Like, they can literally give you a week. They can give you a couple of days. They can give you, a couple of weeks. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I need like this full stamp. So I recently decided, like, you know what? When I go back to the States in November for this wedding, I was only supposed to be in Chicago for 3 days. I'm like, I need to find a way to start my process to get my residency so I can be legit out here and not have to be worried about, stuff like that. And so, long story short, I'm about to be starting my residency process. But listen, so I get back to my place. They supposedly the owner had like some cleaners clean the place. Like, it was not the same cleaners from the summertime. And I am like, I like my place very, very clean. And I like to clean myself because people just don't be cleaning the way I need to clean. Like, I be every, crevice, I'm in there, okay? Everybody don't take care of your stuff the way you do, right? So the house, I'm just like, it just didn't feel like homely. You know what I mean? So when I tell you, there was an infestation of ants in here. Like, I have never seen so many ants in my life. There was ants because here we don't have central air. We have like air for each room, each unit for each room, y'all. And it like leaks water a lot of times. So there's like a little water line that goes from where the air condition is. It was ants coming out of the air condition. Y'all, there was ants everywhere. When I tell y'all, I was freaking out. So, of course, I'm like, I got to go to Walmart. I got to get rid of these ants. Like, I'm literally spraying. Like, it was so bad. I had to have someone come help me. I literally took everything out of every cabinet. I literally moved every appliance. Like, I was not playing. I was on a mission. It took me like 3 days to fully get rid of the ants. Like, it was crazy. I was doing all types of concoctions. I was doing like the vinegar and baking soda. Like, I was using like the real bug sprays. Like, it was crazy. They was all up in my washer room. They were in my room, and they were like those little small, they were like small little invisible ants. Like, I've never seen ants like that. Not like the little black ones, but they was like these small invisible. It was driving me crazy. So, I go try to take a shower because, I done been traveling all day. I'm tired. The water cold. So I go try to turn on my heat, turn on see if my gas is on. I'm trying to click and turn the gas on, and the gas is not turning on. So I'm like, okay, I'm trying to light the pilot, and I know how to light my pilot, y'all. The pilot was not turning on. So I'm like, okay, what is really going on? And my stove here is also ran by gas. So I'm trying to turn the gas on, and the gas is not coming on my stove either. So I'm like, okay, there's clearly something going on. I go outside because there's like an emergency valve where you turn the gas off. And I try to turn the gas on because I'm like, maybe that's what it is. So I'm trying to turn the gas on. The gas is still not working. So I'm calling the owner and the property manager, like, what's going on? Like, there's no gas. She's like, oh, well, do you know how to light the pilot? I'm like, find somebody else to play with, because you know that I know how to light this pilot. You taught me how to light the pilot. Like, go find somebody else to play with. So she was like, okay, I'm gonna have somebody come over, whoop-de-doo. Y'all. So come to find out, this is like on the 4th day that I am there. I'm still taking cold showers, and I still don't have any gas. Come to find out, the gas tank is not working properly. So the guy comes out, he fixes the gas. Y'all, I still don't have hot water. Well, hold on. Back it up. The guy comes over to try to figure out what's going on with the gas. He can't figure it out. So I said, did y'all pay the gas bill? Of course we paid the bill. This is what the property manager is telling me. On the 5th day, she calls me like, oh, God, I'm so sorry. I forgot to pay the bill. So, y'all, I've been without hot water and have not been able to cook for a whole week because she has not paid the bill. So she's like, well, do you mind going to the gas company to pay the bill? I do. I'm not doing it. You need to go down there, because usually I can pay the bill at like the corner store. I'm not going all the way to the gas company. You need to do that. So she's like, okay, I'm going to do it. So this was like a Thursday, y'all. It ain't like in the States, like you get your utilities turned off, you can get them on pretty much the same day. You got to get in line. So now there's a wait list for me to get my gas back on, y'all. I was without gas for like 7 days. I could not cook, and I was taking cold showers. And at this point, I was just like over it, right? And I'm like, okay, I can deal with the cold shower, but like I need to be able to cook, because now I'm spending all this money because I have to go, I can't cook, and I literally cook everything. So I have to eat out, 2-3 times a day because I don't have gas, because she thought she paid the bill. It took the gas company 3 days to come out and turn the gas back on. So y'all, we get the gas back on. I'm like, okay, good to go. Let me just say, it took a total of 3.5 weeks that I had to take a cold shower out here, because the hot water tank ended up going out. It was not working properly, and it had nothing to do with me. So the owner had to replace it, and it took her forever to get it replaced. And then once she bought it, it took the guy to come fix it forever. So I was so upset, like, oh my gosh, like, mind y'all, if y'all remember last year, all the issues that I had with my place, I'm thinking the reason why I chose to come back here, because I was like, there was so many issues last year that like, I don't think there's any more issues that could happen. Remember, I had like a $600-700 water bill, like 2-3 months in a row. Like, it was just crazy stuff. Like, come to find out, my electricity bill was like crazy compared to like my neighbors and stuff, because at this point I'm talking to everybody. What's your bill look like? There were times where I didn't have water and stuff. And let's talk about not having water. So I went to Cancun. To a basketball game. Came back from the basketball game on a Friday night. Came back from the basketball game, and the lights just started flickering in the house, and I'm getting like scared. Like, I'm like, what is going on? Like, nothing like went completely out. It was like everything just went really, really low. Like, the lights went really dim. The air conditioning like stopped working, but it was like still like flashing. So I wasn't thinking like, it was like a breaker thing. I'm like, what is going on? Y'all, long story short, I did not have water, because here the water pump is hooked up to the electricity. I did not have water. I did not have electricity for 3 days. I'm telling the owner what's going on because mind you, it's Friday and they don't do stuff on the weekends. So it's Friday. It was so hot in here, y'all. It was so freaking hot. And thank goodness, like, I came back with some, what is it, like, portable fans. So I, like, basically was, like, had the fans on my face. I was, like, outside because it was, like, actually cooler outside. I'm, like, outside, like, sitting down trying to get cool as I could. I was miserable. And I was, like, of course, at some point I was going to, like, leave officially and just get a hotel. But the owner did not offer. I was like, I don't have running water. I don't have electricity. This is not a livable circumstance. She did not offer to take anything off of my rent. She did not offer to put me in another place. And granted, it was no fault to mine. So come to find out, there's something with like the electrical boxes that's outside that sometimes like the fuses blow. And I guess the fuse blew. So it knocked out all of the all the electricity in my place. And I think I had like 2 circuits that was working in the house. So I was able to like have some electricity. Talking about miserable, y'all. Like, miserable. I hate to be hot. And I swear it was like the 3 hottest days of like the end of this summer that this happened. So again, I only been back, like I said, I got back like September 3rd. So I've been back about a month and a half, and it has just been one thing after another. And so I basically took some money off of the rent when I paid the last rent because I'm like, this is ridiculous. And then she was like, oh, do you mind paying like the electricity bill from the summer? And she was like, you can just take it off of like your rent for the upcoming month. It's just, y'all, and this is gonna sound so crazy because you probably like, why did you choose to go back and you had all the issues last year? Like I said, I'm thinking like the issues are fixed. It's gonna be smooth sailing. And then I have some friends who like lived in my community and moved out to other communities, like thinking the grass was gonna be greener, and then they had like worse issues than they had over here. So it's a little bit of that fear in my mind as well, because of course I'm comfortable being here. I already been here for a year. But needless to say, it is not always peaches and cream over here. At least in my experience, it has not been. And then let's not talk about the exchange rate over here, because the exchange rate is crazy. Like, when I first moved here, the exchange rate was almost a 1-to-20 ratio. The exchange rate when I got back was 1-to-15. So, I mean, talking about like my rent has went up a couple $100. All of my bills have went up. All of my expenses, the amount of money I pay for food and things have went up. So of course, people who are, wanting to live abroad, like that's something you have to consider, especially if you want to live abroad on a budget. Like, you have to consider that exchange rate, because it's not like in the US, like, yes, inflation happens, but for the most part, like, your rent is going to stay the same for the year, and it may go up after that year, lease is up. But here, based on the exchange rate, it can go up and down from month to month. So you don't have no way. I mean, you have to be very diligent of like under budgeting or over budgeting so that you have like the amount of money that you need to be able to pay your bills, because there are several people that I've met who have come over here, trying to live their best life, and have had to move back to the States for extra support because they did not they didn't take into account like the exchange rate, and if they lose a job, and all the intricacies of like having a savings and things like that. Because I can easily see how people on fixed incomes can come over here and struggle, which of course you don't want to leave your country to go struggle in another country. So that's one thing that I have learned for sure living over here in this last year. And the exchange rate started creeping back up for the first time since probably, I want to say it started going down like in like March, April. But like I said, this summer, when I got back, it was like a 1-to-15. But a couple weeks ago, it went back up to about 1-to-18. Y'all, I was like, I gotta get to the ATM. Everybody in the expat groups was like, y'all might want to go to the bank and try to pull some money out while y'all can get a better exchange rate versus, like waiting. So like literally, I'm like monitoring the exchange rate on a day-to-day, because I'll pick the day where I'm like, okay, this is the best exchange rate I've seen, and that's when I choose to like pay my rent. And I always pay my rent early. And about rent, like it's just little stuff. So like my owner, she sent me a message the other week, and she's like, hey Kara, when are you going to pay your rent for the month? I'm still waiting for it. And I was like, ma'am, I paid my rent for September 22nd. Like, here's the receipts. You know what I mean? Like, I shouldn't have to keep up on your end because you're getting the same communication as well. So I'm just like, oh, Aaliyah said this is good information. Oh, thank you, love. Thank you. And you said I want to get mine locked the beginning of the year. I wish I knew you were in the States. I have to stay in touch more. Got to meet my daughter. I know. I cannot wait to just meet her and to give her kisses. I can't wait. I'm going to try to get back to Atlanta. I was in Atlanta this summer, but it was literally for the Beyonce concert. So I was there for like a day and a half. I was in and out. It was last minute, so I didn't get a chance to, get around and see everybody. But I miss you. I love you, and definitely got to see you. But yeah, so like I said, shout out to all the expats who are out here flourishing on these social media streets. And I am definitely, not one to really just sit and talk about my whole experience being here in Mexico, or to act like I'm like the guru or like a traveling influencer, none of that. But, I like to share what's going on in my life. So like that was kind of stressful when I first got here. And I was just like really thinking like, okay, what if I need to find somewhere else to stay? And that's just a whole stressful process as well. Because when I first moved here, I was like, oh my gosh, am I going to find something that I actually like? And so it's just all the things. But I will say finally things are getting better over here. But it was definitely a rocky first month being back here in Mexico. And like I said, I hope that the exchange rate continues to go up. But the way with everything that's going on in the world right now, I'm not very hopeful for that as well. Other updates is, I think I told y'all this summer that I have been I'm trying to think of the correct word, counseling like pre-med students who are trying to get into med school. And so I've been doing it like officially like as far as like getting paid for it, because I've been doing it for free for years. But as far as like getting paid for it, probably earlier this year, so like maybe February, March is when I do it. So I'm doing it as an independent contractor through like a third party company. So that's been a good time. Just right now, a lot of students are interviewing for med schools right now. So that's where a lot of my work has been doing mock interviews. And let me tell y'all, I love doing mock interviews with students. Like, it is so much fun for me. I know it's stressful for them, but I'll be over here having a whole good time. Y'all hear me? Like a great time. It was so funny. I was doing a mock interview. They have some schools have what you call a MMI. So it is a mini, it's MMI. I can't think of what it stands for in this moment. But anyways, there's like these mini stations that you have to go to. And it is like you go and there's a door. And then there's a question, and it's like some type of bioethical question or just a regular question. And then you have like 2 minutes to read it, and then you have to go in the room, and there's an interviewer that's sitting on the other side, and you have to like explain to them what you would do in that situation. And so like one of the situations might be, it's a multi-mini interview. That's what the MMI is for. Sorry, got it. But it's like for instance, a question could be like, okay, you are the physician and you have 2 patients. One patient just found out that they had cancer. The other patient is a known alcohol user. Both of them need a liver transplant. You just received a liver. Now you have to decide who actually gets the liver. And so the student, as they're interviewing, they have to, again, go through this process of like, how am I going to answer this? And then they have to go in the room and they have to talk to the interview and tell them what they would do in this situation. So I've been prepping a lot of students for those type of interviews, which are so much fun because I get to make up circumstances where they have to like be in these awkward positions and like make these decisions on what they would do and really like stand behind their decision. And then there's a lot of like situational like role playing in this style of interview as well that a lot of the med schools are going to as well. And so I was working with a student a couple weeks ago, and she had to deliver bad news to me. So of course, like I'm all in actress mode, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh my gosh, and what are you telling me? And she's over there like trying to calm me down. And then after we were done with the interview, she was like, oh my gosh. She was like, my brother was in the kitchen. He was looking at me so confused, like, who are you talking to? Because of course she's like, it's, you know, everything is going to, you know, we're going to do the best that we can, and we're going to get, you know, the best team involved and stuff like that. And she said he was so confused. So we was like, moral of the story, make sure you're telling somebody when you practicing some of these interviews, because it definitely can be awkward if somebody walks in and have no clue what is actually going on. So that has been a good time. And then now I'm helping prep students who are applying to med school next year, helping get their applications together, making sure that they get their letters of recommendation, making sure they're working on their personal statements, and, you know, seeing what they can do to strengthen their application before they actually apply. So I've been having a great time doing that. I probably have this cycle. So right now we're in a 2023-2024 cycle. So they applied this year, but they actually start med school next year. I probably have about 12 students. And then as far as like students who are applying for next season, which is 2024-2025, I probably have about like 8 students right now. So it's manageable, because it's not like I have to talk to them like every day. Like some of them check in like every 2 weeks, some of them once a month, just depending on what they have going on. But it's really exciting, you know, seeing like full circle, you know, me going through my process and, you know, going through that journey and walking away from that journey, being dismissed from that journey, but still being able to like have a pivotal role in students' life as they are preparing to become future physicians. So it's been fun, to say the least. And then also I still, you know, y'all know I've been tutoring for years too, so I still do some tutoring and stuff as well. So I'm pretty much chilling right now. I know the big question, everybody's like, oh my gosh, like people always ask me like, oh my gosh, well, what do you do for work? Like, what are you doing over there? And I'm just like, or no, they just say, what do you do? And I just like, oh, I live my best life. Like, what are you asking specifically? Because of course I know it's related to work, but of course people like, what do you do? Like, you mean who am I? Like, you know, I'm wonderfully and fearfully made, you know what I mean? Like, I'm out here living my best life. So people got to be a little bit more specific. But I will say, like, I don't work a traditional 9-to-5 job. I pretty much I have like little gigs that I do, like I said, more so around like tutoring, mentoring, things like that. And I know my living expenses, so I try to keep everything within my living expenses, which is like, I'll be fully transparent with y'all. So my living expenses is probably around like $2,000 a month. So I'm like, okay, I know how to bring in $2,000 a month. That's not an issue. So right now I'm not living like this like overzealous like life. I'm pretty, you know, pretty minimal, pretty basic. Hold on, to be honest, that's a blessing. Oh, thank you. I agree. So yeah, like I said, I definitely live a little bit more free flowy life. I definitely have had some recent conversations with family and friends and stuff like that. And, you know, of course, some of the elders, you know, they get a little concerned, like, what are you going to do? Like, you know, they're just so accustomed to, you know, you get a good job, you work your good job, you retire from your good job, you get your pension from your good job. And I don't live my life in that way. I have a lot of freedom that I know, you know, for some people that may be intimidating, like, because it's just like, I can't fathom, like, you're okay with, like, really not knowing, like, you know, things kind of fluctuate from month to month. But I don't know. I just use my evidence from what God has done for me. And I know, like, if he's did it before, he can do it again. So, you know, it's pretty stress-free, to be honest. I mean, of course, sometimes I'm like, ooh, I might need a couple extra dollars. What I'm going to do as far as, like, you know, when I'm thinking about, like, planning, like, some traveling things, like, ooh, I need to make sure I get X, Y, Z. But like I said, it's always opportunities that come up for me that I'm grateful for, because it's nothing that I really have to like put a lot of effort to. It's just like a lot of things really do come my way, and it's not on like, oh, I'm manifesting these things. Like, I don't do all of those things, but I am intentional as far as like making connections with people, and like gratefully people will have me at the top of their mind when there's like something that needs to be done, and gratefully I'm able to make some money from it. But yeah, so overall, like I said, I don't work a traditional like 9 to 5 per se. I'm more so like a freelancer, but I do have like I have like an IRA account and things like that. So like I said, I be telling the elders of my family, like, y'all, it's okay. Like, no, I'm not working a traditional way, but I'm still contributing, money, just like you contribute money into your, accounts for your future and things like that. I do the same thing. It just doesn't look the same way as you do. I don't get a 2-week check, and a check every 2 weeks like most people. So, but like I said, it's just like, what is the exchange? Because I got friends that's making 6 figures and miserable. You know what I mean? Like, I have friends that are making, more or less, and, just depends on their outlook of life. For me, I value my time more than I value money right now. Like, could that change? Potentially, right? Like, and of course, I'm still in a country that is, I would consider that is driven by like capital. So I would say it's definitely a capitalist driven country, but it's just the amount of stress here compared to like being home is like day and night, which is why I love being here. And even when I was living in Puerto Rico as well, it's just the same thing. It's very carefree, because when I tell y'all, like, when I'm in the States, like, I be like, I gotta figure out how to get this money by tomorrow. Like, it's such a hustle culture for me in my mind. Like, I was like, I gotta get it. But like over here, it's so bare minimum. Like, I just, I spend the most money on like food, you know what I mean? And I cook most of the time. I do go get my quesadillas and my tacos like twice a week. But outside of that, like, I'm not just spending money on like frivolous things. Like, I have my little wardrobe. I usually wear like workout stuff because I work out a lot, and it's hot. It's Mexico, it's hot. So I live like pretty minimalist, to be honest, but I do like to enjoy things. So like a couple weeks ago, I went to a resort for like a day pass. Well, I'll get like a day pass for resorts, but this time I was like, it's actually going to be cheaper for me just to pay for a night and get the all-inclusive. So that's one thing I enjoy being here, because I do get to like have like those moments of like being on vacation. And it's crazy because I looked at my vision board though from a couple years ago, and one of the little sayings that I had clipped from a magazine was like, live your life like it's a vacation or something like that. And I really do feel like my life is like very much like vacation vibes, and I love it. And like I said, it's not perfect living abroad. Like, you're gonna have your issues. I heard somebody say the other day, you still take you with you. So like, if you wasn't okay with you in the United States, you're not gonna be okay with you in another country, let alone another state. Because y'all know the people who be like, oh, I'm moving to a new state, I'm moving to a new city, I gotta get out of here, and then they didn't do no work for themselves, and then they wonder why they attracting the same people and doing the same stuff. So for me, to be honest, I could live anywhere in the world and be content. I'm just choosing for that place to be Mexico right now. I love it. And Aaliyah said, love this lifestyle for you. Thank you, my love. Have you learned the language very well? Let's talk about it. First of all, I'm going to just say it like this. My Spanish has definitely progressed. Like, when I think about living in Puerto Rico, where my Spanish was basically nothing, because the only time I had to use Spanish was when I went to the grocery store, and it was more so like asking a very basic question and like asking for a bag and like saying thank you and making sure I understand like the price that they're giving me. Y'all, my Spanish, it's trash. I'm gonna just say that. But this is just the humble version. Like, this is me being my own worst critic. I will say my Spanish, I'm probably like a 2.5-year-old in Spanish. So I do have fluency, right? But it's like fluency of a 2.5-year-old. I think when people think of fluency, I think it's like, oh, I've mastered the language as a whole. I haven't even mastered English, right? So like I have fluency in English, but I'm not a master of English. And same with like fluency here, is like as far as Spanish, I do have fluency as like a 2.5-year-old. I'm hoping to be about 3 by the end of the year. I feel like I should be a little further advanced than what I am in my Spanish, but I really don't like sit and practice the way that I need to. I did have a lesson with my tutor, so I do meet with a tutor once a week. Shout out to my tutor, love her to pieces, found her, about to plug y'all. It's called Verbling, and you can go on there and you can find your own tutor. And so they're like independent contractors, so there's all different prices. Of course, the more advanced teachers, they got a advanced price tag, and then you can buy like a package. I try to keep up on my packages. Usually I pay a couple $100 for like maybe like 12 sessions or so, or 10 sessions, I want to say. But I try to, buy those frequently so that I'm meeting with her like every week. But this summer, of course, I took a little break, so I wasn't really doing too much. But I will say, like, as far as my friend group out here, my friends are Cubans, Argentinians, and Mexicans. I got a couple of black homegirls. I got a friend that lives over here. I got a friend that used to live behind me. She moved somewhere else, and then I have another friend that used to live in the other building from me. So I got about like 3 African American friends, but I say most of my friends are Latino, so it does help to be around them because of course I'm speaking Spanish. So I speak Spanish every single day. As far as like watching TV, all of my shows I watch is in Spanish. It depends. If it's something that I really, really want to know what's going on, like I'm going to watch it in Spanish with English subtitles. But if it's like a show that I'm passively watching, I'm going to watch it in Spanish with Spanish subtitles. And then like when I go to the movies, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to go see the movie. Even if they have the movie in English with Spanish subtitles, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to go to the movies in Spanish with no subtitles. So, and my understanding, I say it depends on like, it depends. There's some things in Spanish that like I can have a full conversation. So like if I get in a taxi, the taxi drivers be like, oh, your Spanish is so good. Your Spanish is so good, because I can have basic conversations. Like I can talk to you about, my day, what I'm doing here, what I got going on for the weekend. Like I can have very conversational based Spanish. I'm good. But when it comes to like talking about topics that I just haven't, been exposed to, then that's when like a lot of the words I'm like, hold on, what does that word mean? But I will say for the most part, I can explain myself in Spanish. Like you can understand what I'm saying, if that makes sense. So like, for example, if I did not know how to say boat in Spanish, right? I would say something like, ¿dónde es? Like, where is? Like, ¿dónde es? El auto en el agua, like in el mar. Like I'll say like, where's like the car that's in the water, you know what I mean? And they're like, oh, like boat, that, like they'll be able to tell me like, oh, that's how you say, this is how you say boat in Spanish. So I can like explain myself around things. Like I have enough vocabulary to explain myself. And they can like fill in the blank, and they'll tell me what the word is that I'm looking for. And I'm like, pues, and they're like, oh, and they'll tell me the word. So it is a lot of charades out here. I use a lot of hands. I will say my Spanish personality, if you know me personally, I'm a little dramatic anyways. But my Spanish personality, like she's on a whole nother level. Like she is so dramatic. I use my hands a whole lot in Spanish. I don't use my hands as much in English, but in Spanish, these hands are moving because it's like a lot of charades. I'm like trying to get it out, you know what I mean? So it is a struggle, but I am enjoying it. When I'm in group settings, so like the other day, one of my Argentinian friends is getting ready to move to a resort in Tulum to work, and so we did like a little get together for him. Now, when I say get together, like this is like something that happens on a week to week basis. So shout out to my Argentinian friends, because they are known for like their grilled meats in Argentina. And like when I tell y'all they be getting down on the grill, like Oh my gosh, the food is so good. And I love spending time with them because they are very much like, very like family oriented. Like they cook all the meat, and then you literally like put the meat on like whatever it is that you're gonna serve it on, and it's like you put it in a table, and like everybody is like eating as a family. So like if there's like salad, there'll be like a big thing of salad, and everybody's like scoop. I know y'all might be like, that ain't the most sanitary thing, but it's just very much normal, and just culturally it's just an appropriate thing that you do out, you know what I mean, like with different groups. But yeah, it's like very, very much a vibe, and I really enjoy it. And I will say, like, when I'm around them, sometimes they forget, and they'll like try to ask me a question, and they be talking so fast, and I'm like, y'all, did y'all forget? And when it's super late, like I've been speaking in Spanish all day, so by the time it's nighttime, my brain starts to shut down, and like sometimes I will not even be able like to comprehend the simplest words. It's easier now for me. It's not bad like that now. At least it's like 2-3 in the morning. But like before, it used to be like after like 9-10 o'clock, my brain shut down. But now, like I said, my brain will shut down like probably after like 1 o'clock. It starts like declining a lot. But overall, hold on. Aaliyah said dramatic, Miss Crumb. You know, that's what I'm saying. You know, I'm a little dramatic. But yeah, so overall, the other day when we, like I said, I was with my Argentinian friends, I was like, oh my gosh, my Spanish is trash. Like, and they always are like, no, your Spanish is good. But like even here in Mexico, like depending on what state people are from, just like in the States, how we have like, you know, our northern accents are, you know what I mean? You know, people from Baltimore, you know, people from New York, like you can just hear those distinct accents. It's the same like that here and just in Spanish speaking countries in general. And so like the Argentinians, they don't say like the double L sound in Spanish is a Y sound. And like, so any like Y's or double L's in Spanish, instead of like pollo, which is like how you say like chicken, the Argentinians will say pollo. So like everything is like a sh, or like for like your last name is like apellido, they'll say apellido. Like, so it's like very much like my brain be trying to go back and forth between like listening to the Argentinians, the Cubans, and the Mexicans, and my brain just be everywhere. I'm telling y'all, like my brain be in full fatigue. Like when I first got here, it was extremely overwhelming. Like I was like, I truly understand. This is an extreme, but like I understand why there's so many people that are in prison, because they lack basic a lot of them lack basic communication. And when you cannot communicate and you cannot communicate effectively, it causes like a lot of anger and anxiety. And for some people who do not know how to, people who don't know how to communicate like with their words, it can lead to like a lot of aggression. And so that's kind of my little theory. Y'all don't have to agree with it, but that's my theory. Is like a lot of people that's locked up, they lack communication skills, because over here, like when you trying to, you know, you're in a country and you trying to survive and get the language, like it can be very, very overwhelming, and it can cause anxiety and really just like a rage and an anger inside. Like you just want to just shake something. But again, like I don't feel that anymore. And one thing about it though, like I don't care. Like I'm going to talk. I'm going to use my Spanish. It's not a perfect Spanish. Like I said, that's why I said about 2.5-year-olds. So, you know, a 2.5-year-old, you know, you can understand a 2.5-year-old very well, but it's not always like complete sentences. I might be like, in English, I might be like, oh yeah, so like, what's going on? What you trying to do tomorrow? I might just be like, mañana, okay. Like, what we doing? Like, what for tomorrow? You know what I mean? So I'll like very much like shorten a lot of phrases. And that's one thing my tutor, she been working on me with getting out of habit of like talking in like very short, you know, phrases. So I have been working on like, and I know how to use complete sentences in Spanish, but because my brain is like trying to transition words all the time, sometimes I'm just tired and I don't want to do it. You know what I mean? Like you just gonna get these words and you gonna know what I'm saying. So yeah, so it has been an adjustment, but it's nowhere near the level of anxiety that I had at the beginning, because I was like completely overwhelmed. And like I said, I'm definitely humble, and like people be like, oh yeah, my Spanish is decent. Like, it's easy to say your Spanish is decent when like you go on vacation and again you using basic like, oh, trying to order some food or something. But like when you are immersed in the culture and like trying to truly be a part of like that culture, you get really humble. Because I used to be like, oh, my Spanish is decent. No, nope, trash. And I be feeling so sorry for my friends, because I'm like, I know y'all be sick of me and my slow talking self, because like people don't realize English is a very fast language as well. Like we talk very fast to someone who was like trying to learn a language. And like the other day we were talking about something and they use different words, like placha. Placha is just like another word that they use for like money in Spanish. And I was like, what? Like, you know, because I'm used to hearing words one way. So that's another thing, is like Spanish, just like English, we got a lot of different ways that we can express the same thing. It's the same in Spanish. So like you'll learn one thing and then like you be like, huh? Like, what is that? Because you haven't heard it that way. So the learning curve is crazy. But like I said, I'm hoping to be about 3 by the end of the year. Aaliyah said, what made you move to Mexico? So what made me move to Mexico was when I left from Puerto Rico. I was like, where am I going to go? Like, I want to go somewhere else. I knew I wanted to be in a Spanish-speaking country, so that was top of my list. And actually, to be honest, the number one place that I wanted to move to was going to be Costa Rica. Costa Rica was number one. I was like, oh my goodness, Costa Rica is it. But then upon further research, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm just coming from an island. And as beautiful as Puerto Rico was, it's an island. So island living is just, it's a total different ball game as far as just like what is readily available to you, as far as like travel. The expenses for travel is usually much higher trying to like fly to like other countries. I'm thinking I'm in Puerto Rico, for me to get to the DR or to get to Jamaica, or you know what I mean, just any neighboring islands. I'm like, oh, it shouldn't cost that much, y'all. Like, y'all, when I tell you it was cheaper to literally fly back to the United States and then book a ticket to one of those neighboring islands, like it is very expensive. The cost of living can get expensive because there's a lot of extra import fees when you're living on an island. And then just the amount of things to do can be limited because the island's only so big, right? Like there's only so many things that you can do. So Costa Rica, I was like, it's going to be too similar to life in Puerto Rico. And I wanted something that was going to be different. But I also wanted to make sure that like, I want to be, you know, have a higher age of fluency. You know what I mean? Like, again, like I said, I do have some fluency now, but I want to like mature my fluency. And I felt like, oh my gosh, like Mexican Spanish would be perfect for me. Now, granted, you know, regionally, the Spanish is different, right? But I just feel like, especially like living in the United States, I will say like our largest Hispanic population is are Mexican. So it just made the most sense. And so I was like, oh, I want to go to Mexico. And then I just kept on getting like confirmation. Like I went to a conference and I was telling this girl like, yeah, you know, I'm thinking about like moving, you know, either to Costa Rica or Mexico. And she was like, oh, I live in Mexico. And then like it was somebody else who I had ran into and met, and they was like, oh yeah, something Mexico. And like Mexico just kept on coming up. So it was just like, okay, confirmation, all right, Mexico it is. But somebody texted me the other day and they were like, oh, well, how did you get to Mexico? And I was like, a plane. Yeah, I'm so sarcastic, but no, seriously, I was like, you know, for me, to be honest, I didn't do all the research and all the things most people do when they're moving to another country. I mean, you're talking about the girl who literally was packing the morning of to move to Mexico. Like, who is still packing the morning of and you getting ready to move out the country? It don't make sense to me either, y'all. Like, I don't know why I'm like this, but I am. I found my Airbnb like probably like 2 or 3 days before I came to Mexico, and that was because my little cousin was like, cousin, did you get your Airbnb yet? And I was like, so she literally went online and was just finding Airbnbs and just sending them to me, and I just picked one of the ones that she sent. And I paid for my Airbnb for a week. And then I was like, I'm going to figure it out once I get there. And so when I first got here, the first night in my Airbnb, and I had a really nice Airbnb, but the first night I got in my Airbnb, and I was so tired. I was just fatigued from, like, you know, the flight and stuff. And I went to go find some food, you know, up the street. I walked and got some food, and I got back to my Airbnb, and I was like, oh my gosh, did I really just move to Mexico? Like, it was so crazy to me. Like, it had just like really sunk in for me, like, oh, I really just up and left. And then it's one of them things, like, I am kind of a rebel as well. And when I was telling people, like, oh, I'm gonna move to Mexico, and they're like, who you moving with? I'm like, by myself. Like, I'll figure it out. And people like kind of had a little doubt in me, like, oh, she ain't moving to Mexico, because who's not? Oh, definitely am. So originally, the crazy thing, I originally was going to move to Merida, Mexico, which is part of the Yucatan, but I found out probably 2 weeks before I moved to Mexico that it was very, very hot there, and it wasn't really close to a beach. I was thinking about moving there just because I had heard like there was a lot of expats that lived there and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, okay, that's gonna be great for me. When I found out how hot it was, and that, like, you know, trying to get to the beach was not a thing for real. I mean, yes, it's a thing, but it wasn't like easily accessible like it is in Playa. I was like, oh, this ain't gonna work. And so I literally was like, okay, where am I gonna go in Mexico? And then I was like, okay, well, let me go to Playa. Like, I had like looked on Google, looked on YouTube, watched a couple of videos, people that was living in Playa. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to Playa. I'm like, oh, what's the nearest airport? Cancun. Okay. And then I just came out here, and then, you know, those first couple days, when I tell y'all, they was getting over on me real bad. Let me tell y'all how trifling y'all friend is, okay? I didn't even like research like the peso situation. Like, I was literally trying to get pesos. Let's say I moved on a Sunday. I was like at the bank on Thursday, Friday, like trying to figure out the peso situation. So I didn't have like a full plan. Like I said, a lot of people really be having their lives together. Like my homegirl that moved over here, she did all her research, everything. I was just like, I'll figure it out. And I did. So, I mean, I'm grateful for my journey. I know everybody is not built like this to move that way, and it would give a lot of people a lot of anxiety. But like, it was just something that I was looking to explore. And so I'm glad that I did it the way that I did it. And of course, I'm still learning, but Mexico's definitely home. And like I said earlier on, I'm going to be applying for my temporary residency, and I'll be able to keep that for a year. And then after the year, I'll renew it, and I'll have that for 3 years. And then after having my temporary residency for 4 years, I can apply for permanent residency. And then after holding that for so long, I can apply for citizenship if that is something that I choose to do. I don't know if I'm gonna go that far, but I definitely want to have my residency as well. And, you know, in the near future, considering purchasing some properties out here. Next year, one of my goals is to get a car out there. I do have a car in the United States, but I really just want to keep my car in the United States, so when I go back home, like, I can have my vehicle and not have to worry about it. But I do want to buy a car out here. I just feel like it'll be easier. And if you bring a car from the United States, like, your car is attached to like your temporary residency. So it's like a whole thing. It's also, you know, doing the most to try to drive your car over here. You gotta, you know, be very careful because it can be a dangerous route. It's just a lot of things to consider. I'm like, I'd rather just buy a car. So I'm planning on buying a car. And of course, out here, there's so many car brands that, you know, are not American known brands. So it's a bunch of brands that I'm looking down here looking now at these different cars, stuff we ain't never seen before. And I'm like, I'm gonna get one of these cars that I don't know what it is, you know, something nice on a budget, that I can get around. But I do have a scooter out here, so I'm able to get around more easily. Scooter life is definitely, you know, it's a little rough, because the driving out here is very crazy. But I have seen like videos and stuff of people that like live in Bali. That's a whole nother level. So I'm like, I'm definitely not gonna complain because it's not to that level, but it is very interesting. As far as like if I plan on staying in Playa, I'm not sure, but I definitely plan on staying in Mexico. And next year I'm looking to explore more parts of Mexico. Like I want to go to Mexico City. I want to go to Guadalajara. There's a lot of like Oaxaca. Like there's a lot of places that I am trying to explore in Mexico, and especially I just want to taste the different cuisines. Like I cannot wait because the food is so different in different parts of Mexico. So looking to explore. Aaliyah said that's right, you were in Puerto Rico at first. I forgot all about that. Wow, living your best life for sure. Thank you. But best life. It's not, you know what I mean? It ain't a perfect life, right? Ain't none of us perfect, and I ain't even striving for it. But I just feel like as I'm continuing to, you know, go through my path and my journey, I'm like, this is why all of the things before had to happen to get me to this moment. You know what I mean? So it's just like, sometimes we're like in our moments and we're like, oh my gosh, why did this happen? Why is this happening to me? Like it's truly happening for us, and we don't always know the answer in the moment, but I promise later on, like when you are having that little utopic moment, like you really think about like, dang, I've been through all these things and none of it was in vain. Like it was all to get me here for this moment, and for that, you know, it's worth it. Like I said, if I would have been a doctor, like I'll be in somebody's hospital right now, you know what I mean? I wouldn't be out here living in Mexico, like living my version of best life. So I'm grateful. I have gratitude for all the things that, you know, God has given me. But Aaliyah, make sure you save me a cheddar biscuit, girl. That's one thing. I don't eat seafood, but I used to love me some Red Lobster because I used to get the chicken Alfredo and them cheddar biscuits. Oh my goodness, they do something for me. Let me tell you, they definitely do something for me. So good. Aaliyah's at Red Lobster, y'all, if y'all wondering where she at. But yeah, so yeah, that's pretty much my update this way. Oh, the Day of the Dead is coming up out here. It is November the 1st and the 2nd. So they have a lot of festivities that go on. Last year I went to like an orchestra show. It was really, really good. And they had like some Cirque du Soleil type of folks out here, and they were like doing, you know, stuff up in the air and things like that. So that was cool. I'm planning on going to some type of concert. I don't know. I seen a sign when I was driving the other day, so I'm like, I'm going to go to that. So I'm definitely going to give y'all updates on the Day of the Dead festivities. Mexico had their Independence Day, which is in September, y'all, and I'm not going to judge my mama. I don't want to put her out there like that, but let me tell you, I told my mom, I was like, you know, Cinco de Mayo is not Mexico's Independence Day. Like, it's just some Americanized things. Like, they don't celebrate that in Mexico. It's not a real thing. And she was like, what? She was like, well, who is Cinco de Mayo then? Ma'am, Cinco is 5. Day is of. And Mayo is May. It's the 5th of May. That's why it's on the 5th of May. She was cracking up. I was like, Mom, don't tell nobody else that. But now I'm telling all of y'all so y'all can laugh at her too. But she had me cracking up. I'm like, this is too much. But yeah, so Independence Day was a really good time out here. I went down to like the like the municipal center, and like they had like a free concert for the community. They had a whole bunch of vendors. They didn't have fireworks here, but they did have them in Mexico City. Mexico City is where they have like it's like the New York of Mexico, but it's actually the largest metropolitan city in all of North America. So it's like a whole bunch of New York cities. But I got to watch some of that online. It was beautiful. I was like, I want to make it out there one year. But I'm like, I'm fake about that life because I really don't do crowds and stuff like that. But like in my mind, I'm like, I just want to experience it once and then I'll be good with it. Oh, Aaliyah said, Chad, it's not even good. I'm sorry your food not good. I'm hurt. I was looking forward to this little outing. I haven't been here in years. I know that's the worst. Like when you have like a memory of an experience and then you get back and you like, I will say that when I got back to the States this summer, y'all, why did everybody's menu prices go up? Like it's ridiculous. I'm like, how can you afford to go out to eat? And then, oh my gosh, the tipping culture in the US, that's just enough to give you anxiety. Like the amount that we're supposed to tip, like they even want you to tip, you know, of course people are like, if you don't want to tip, well, you just need to go pick up your food. Like don't be trying to sit down and eat. Okay, well, let me go get my food. I'm gonna walk in and get it too. I ain't gonna do you ain't gotta come bring it to my car or nothing. And then they still be wanting you to tip. And I have some some compassion because I was a server myself, but it's just ridiculous. Like the tipping culture, and I feel like COVID really just made it worse. But like out here, like baby, I tip my 10% and I keep it moving. Like I tip like the locals because that's one thing, like coming out here, people like, oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna do that. Well, a lot of times it displaces the locals when the foreigners come in doing the absolute most. And people don't even want to serve their own people because they're like, oh no, we just gonna deal with the foreigners because they gonna, you know, tip us more. So I try to be part of like the culture here. So I tip like 10 to 15%. And it's just, it gives me so much peace of mind. Like I swear it's like tipping anxiety. Maybe I'm the only one, but it's a lot of tipping anxiety in the United States. And like I know the things here that I'm supposed to tip for. I know the amounts that I'm supposed to tip, and I keep it moving. Like, because at home we just do the absolute most. That's just my opinion. Y'all might agree differently, but that's my opinion. But yeah, it's very, very peaceful in that way. But let me see. Aaliyah said, right, a lot of people aren't aware of Cinco de Mayo. Exactly. I'm like, yeah, that's not real. But yeah, so Day of the Dead is coming up. Looking forward to celebrating. Last year, I was in the States for Christmas because I went on a cruise the week before Christmas, and we got off the cruise on Christmas Eve. So I got to spend Christmas at home. So I'm looking forward to my first Christmas here in Mexico. Last year I did get to spend my New Year's here in Mexico, but looking forward to, you know, spending my second New Year's here in Mexico. So got some good things coming up. You know, it's so funny because I be thinking I'm a fake vlogger. So I be like getting little clips of like my little life and day out here, day in the life. But I'm like, in my mind, it's just not that entertaining. Like I pretty much do the same things, but I have been encouraged by like some of my friends, like, you need to start a TikTok. Like people would love just to like hear your stories and like, you know, just see your little day-to-day experiences. Like I understand you might not want to put, you know, all those things on like YouTube or Instagram, but like, and I will say on my Instagram though, I definitely post in my stories. So if y'all not following me on Instagram, my Instagram is Branded in Purpose. Branded in Purpose. Follow me on Instagram because I do post in my stories. But you know, every now and then I think about creating a TikTok, but I haven't gotten that far yet. So I'll let y'all know if I have a change of heart in that. But I also, I know the time change is coming in Mexico, where I stay. We do not participate in a time change, so we are always on the same time zone all year round. So that means my folks on Eastern Standard Time, y'all are an hour up. I'm currently on like Central Standard Time per se, but when the time goes back an hour, I'm going to officially be on Eastern Standard Time, and then Central is going to be an hour behind. So it's a little different for sure. So half of the year, like Eastern Standard is an hour above, and then the other half we're on the same time frame. So yes, but it has been so good chatting with y'all. Thank you so much, Aaliyah, for coming on here. I appreciate you. I love you. I definitely have to put you top of my list next time I get to Atlanta next summer as well. But I love you, and I'm gonna try to get on here more often. Like I said, my plan be to get on here, you know, at least once a month these days. You know, I used to be loyal and I was on here every week, but I'm gonna see what I can do. I don't want to make no promises because I don't want to be, you know, I don't want y'all to see me as a liar, nothing like that. But I am gonna try to pop on next week because my Fridays are more chill these days, and the weather is like changing and stuff like that. So I think I can come on here for like an hour on Fridays and see how y'all doing. So yes, all right, I will talk to y'all soon. Bye. Love you more.